Blog Talk Radio.
Warning, the following program may include profane language, controversial viewpoints, and perspectives on the true nature of reality so far removed from the status quo, they'll make your head spin like a top. Young children, corporate executives, and religious fundamentalists should turn away now.
Good evening, planet Earth, and welcome to a special edition of Extraordinary Year. I'm Tim Bravo, and tonight, 203 days until December 21st, 2012, the man known as Tolec returns to the show. I know that many of our loyal listeners know him well and are here looking forward to hearing what he has to say tonight. But for the few who aren't yet aware of Tolec, he's a human being from our planet who also happens to be a contactee and representative of the Andromeda Council, which is an intergalactic governance and development body of aligned, benevolent star systems and planets from both our Milky Way and the Andromeda galaxies. The chaired members of the Andromeda Council comprise a total of 12 distinct representative member races from 12 different worlds. They're comprised of some third-dimensional people, like us, but mostly fourth, fifth, and even some sixth-dimensional people. Think of it as a sort of intergalactic United Nations. He's been given the name Tolec, which is simply a public persona work name, by the 5 people with whom he communicates, who are stationed on the primary Andromeda Council Biosphere, where many of its meetings are held. Tolec says he was first physically contacted in 1993 by his principal Andromedan contact, a commander from the planet Dakota, who took him on 3 closely clustered together but separate time travel trips via an Andromedan scout craft back in time to the 1840s to an area of rural Kentucky or West Virginia in the United States to observe a family of 4 in their day-to-day life struggles. Tolec's Andromedan Council contacts indicate they have been in touch with him by various methods since age 5. His physical Andromeda contacts ended after his 1993 time travel experience until the same commander contacted him again in September of 2010. Tolec says communication with his Andromeda Council contacts happens a number of different ways. 1, by telepathic communication. 2, through communication in the dream state. 3, in visions both in the dream state and wide awake, fully conscious. 4, through automatic writing. And 5, through interdimensional travel of his soul essence to Andromeda Council Biospheres, where many council and subcommittee meetings are held. His Andromeda Council contacts indicate they currently have a number of biospheres, which are large planetoid spacecraft stationed around the Earth. And it's these biospheres Tolec will be telling us about tonight by relating his own experiences on board the ships. I, for one, am really looking forward to hearing what he has to say about what and who he's seen there. But before we get going, I want to ask listeners to be patient. We will open the phone lines later in the show. If you have a question, the number to call is on the episode page. It's 858-956-2147. And you can also hop into the chat room and post questions and talk amongst yourselves. So, without further ado, welcome back to the show, Tolec.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm great, buddy. So you've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about this tonight.
There's a lot of information here, and I'll do my best to keep it as organized and as ordered and as clear as possible. So I'm going to actually pick it up from your introduction of me, but more specifically the introduction of what the primary Andromeda Council Biosphere is and what happens there. And your introduction was actually accurate. It is very much like an intergalactic and interstellar UN, because in fact there are many senior homeworlds from different star systems in both the Milky Way as well as the Andromeda Galaxy that are represented as part of this overall Andromeda Council. And so here we go in terms of the first biosphere. So there are 12 Andromeda Council Biospheres, including the primary one, which is the place where all of the Andromeda Council meetings the subcommittee and advisory board meetings are held. And those meetings take place, as we would understand it, 4 work days out of their week. And for the record, the 12 senior member planets are Ptola, Nicote, Lagola, Cana, Percula, Perseae, Ventra, Tolec, Retol, from the Tau Ceti star system Zeta, which is the home world of the Galactic Federation. Not the Galactic Federation of Light, the Galactic Federation. And people can find this on the Andromeda Council webpage under the section called Andromeda Council. The last 2 planets are Degaroth and Etorth. This first biosphere, the primary one, it's also the headquarters for the defense of all of the Andromeda Council biospheres that are immediately in Earth space. Because it has all of these dignitaries from these different planets and star systems, it's also extra well protected. It has extra strong defense shields due to all the officials meeting here. This particular biosphere is the size of Pluto. Now, before I get into the other biospheres, Tim, this is for you. If I'm going through the end of this stuff and I'm not being clear, or if I'm confusing anything, just stop me and interrupt and ask, and we'll get through it.
Will do.
Okay, cool. All right. 11 other biospheres. Here we go. First of all, there are some other biospheres outside our solar system on standby in case the people of the Andromeda Council need them and need access to them. The first, and I'm just going to take them one at a time. I'm going to first take the 5 that are non-hospital ships, because the remaining 6 are all hospital ships and each have a different function. So I'll take these first 5. The second one is a defense biosphere. It has extra armaments, extra shielding, and volunteered warriors from other worlds. And the people that come from other worlds that are stationed on Centauria are people from the planet Ptola, Lagola, Cana, Zeta, which is from Tau Ceti, the Galactic Federation people.
Right.
The people from Degaroth and Etorth. So you've got all of those volunteered warriors that are stationed on that defense biosphere, as well as people from the Silver Legion.
That was going to be my question. I was going to ask, is the Silver Legion included in this? Yes,
they are. Yeah, matter of fact, some of them recently, after the last exercise, the last action that they took, a lot of them relocated to this particular biosphere. I guess, warriors as a bunch like to hang out together. So, yeah, it's just...
Like attracts like.
Yeah, exactly. And the last group of people that are on this biosphere are the people from the planet Dakote, which is in the Taygeta star system, which is in the Pleiades. All right? And just for the record, the chief medical officer, the Tonka, the spiritual sage, and the gentleman who is the commander of the Primary Andromeda Council Biosphere, all 3 of them are originally from the planet Dakote. Mm-hmm. So, and I do get people asking questions. Well, are the Pleiades involved? Well, yes, they are. This particular planet, Dakote, is one of the 4 prime planets of the Pleiades. Sorry, it's one of the 4 prime planets of the star system Taygeta, which is one of the 7 known stars of the Pleiades. And Dakote is the 2nd largest planet in that star system. Okay, so here we go. So I've just talked about Centauria as a defense biosphere and the people that are on it, people who work there. Now I'm going to move on to 2 other biospheres by the name of Sarsta and Vieira. SARSTA is the biosphere, which has to do with engineering, multiple technologies. It's where all of the guys that are engineering oriented live and work. And understand that each of these biospheres pretty much has a complement of around 65,000 people. And I'll get into some of those details of that later, but this particular biosphere, SARSTA, it's where all the engineering guys hang out, and their focus is on creating matter replication technologies having to do with transportation, housing structures, clean air, clean water, spaceports, food replication, manufacture of starships, smaller scout crafts, the larger city-sized scout crafts, all of the stuff that can and will be brought to bear as Earth begins her new life as a fourth dimensional world, January 2014. These guys have all the technology that we'll be able to use down here on Earth. So that's SARSTA, the engineering biosphere.
So this is stuff that's ready to be implemented once the cabal is removed. This is stuff that we'll be able to.
You're close. It's all of the technology that the Andromeda Council has available as an organization of aligned benevolent planets. After all of the changes happen, post January 2014, all of these technologies will be available because they're fourth dimensional technologies. They'll be available, they'll be available post January 2014 when this world is functioning and the people who choose to stay on it are functioning as 4D people. Because you're then going to need 4D technology, because 3D technology won't work anymore. So
tracking, I got you.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's a matter of yes, but I was clarifying timing. Let's see. Next biosphere is called Viara, and it is primarily a communication biosphere. I'm going to back up for a moment, just briefly. SARSTA, it's the size of Venus.
Okay.
The primary Andromeda Council biosphere, it's the size of Pluto. This next one, Viara, it's the size, roughly, of Mars.
That's
and
big.
Viara, they're all quite large. And if people haven't figured this out yet, all of the people that work in these biospheres live and work inside them. They don't work on the surface, they work inside the planet. And I'll go through some of the details so people get a sense for this in a little while. So, Viara, the size of Mars, it is an intergalactic and interstellar multi-dimensional communication center. This one is specifically for the Milky Way galaxy, and as planets and or star systems apply for membership to the Andromeda Council, it's the place where there are teams and teams of people who are responsible to the telepathy and vocal communication, observation, and advisory board. These teams of people report to these guys on this board, and these guys, these teams, are the ones that go out and do the due diligence on the various planets that want to become Andromeda Council members. And they need to get a sense for where they are in their own communication abilities. Are they still specifically vocal and auditory, or are they vocal, auditory, some telepathy? Are they vocal, auditory, and complete telepathy? They need to do this due diligence on these planets as part of the overall application and review process for any particular planet to become a member of the Andromeda Council. So that's, in summary, on Viara, it is a interstellar and intergalactic multi-dimensional communication center, but in place specifically for those planets from the Milky Way galaxy that want to become members of the Andromeda Council.
And hypothetically, we're next on the list.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Right.
Now,
and there are some others, which actually I'm going to get into right now. In terms of non-hospital biospheres, there are 2 left.
Okay.
And I'm going to take some considerable time talking about these because of the implications of these 2 biospheres. The 2 biospheres, and I'll describe them as one because they both provide the same purpose. But again, there are 2 biospheres. One is called Nemaste. The other one is called Pleiadra. Each of them is the size of Jupiter. Okay?
Okay. That's pretty big.
Yeah, they're big, and there's a reason. So, Nemaste, number 1, Pleiadra, number 2, they are each the size of Jupiter, and they are completely livable, like all the others, 3-dimensional biospheres, and there will be 4D and 5D dimensional beings in these biospheres to assist 3D physical people who will be adjusting to a new way of life on their way to the new planet Earth. And I'm going to describe this in detail. All right, we're going to take a left in this conversation. I've had a number of people ask recently, so this is worth clarifying. Is the planet Earth and is the whole solar system shifting? Is there an end of a number of cycles? Is this world going to evolve and transform and become a higher dimensional world, specifically right around the mid-level of the 4th dimension? January 2014, the answer is yes. All right, second question, which is reasonable. Right, second question, which is reasonable, is will all people on planet Earth become either mid-level 4th dimensional people, and some people will become 5th dimensional? The answer is no. And the reason is not about discrimination at all. The reason is very simple. There will be some people on this world simply because of their own personal choice for themselves, that they'll want to continue their lives as they are, as organic matter, 3-dimensional people, just like you and I are today. They won't want to become 4th dimensional people. And I've been told by my contacts, and I've clarified this quite a few times, that approximately the number of people that will want to choose to leave Earth before it turns 4th dimensional is 50% of the population of this planet, plus or minus about 5% either way. Well, what are those people going to do, those 3-dimensional people who want to continue to have a 3-dimensional life? I'm going to use a metaphor. Think of the Milky Way galaxy as a pinwheel. We are we being Earth and our solar system is on a spiral arm down at around 7 o'clock. Okay. There is another world. There is a pristine virgin world sitting on a different spiral arm up at around 10 o'clock on a clock face in terms of relative location, that the people of Earth will be able to travel to and arrive at and live out their lives.
And I'm assuming this is an area of space, an area in the galaxy that has yet to move into the 4th dimensional sort of interplanetary medium vibrational space, and it's kind of farther back in time, so to speak, and is moving this direction. Right.
But it won't be 4D for a long time.
Some cycles.
Yeah, a few cycles. Well said. So how do all of these 3D Earth people begin their new lives on this new world? Well, they're going to be transported there. How are they going to be transported there? Well, here's the relevancy. There are 2 biospheres the size of Jupiter. Each of them can hold billions of people, Nemaste and Pleiadra. And sometime midsummer 2013, there'll be an open invitation with complete disclosure about all of the details, how things are going to happen, in what order, in terms of getting the people from Earth, as well as a whole bunch of animals, as well as a whole bunch of ocean and sea creatures, onto these 2 biospheres for transport to this new 3-dimensional world. And from what I understand, and I just finished going through the details of this new world, it is a beautiful, beautiful virgin world, which is not yet named. The people that are taking this trip, once they get there and they get settled in, they'll convene some kind of council meeting, and among them they'll decide what the name of this new world will be. But it's a beautiful, pristine virgin world. It's green, it's lush, they have no seasons. Think of it as having a Mediterranean climate. There are hills, there are mountains, there's crystal clear rivers and springs and waterfalls. There are large oceans. They are completely freshwater, not salt. Nobody's tampered with this world, and there are currently no native people living on it. None.
What about other native species?
There are some animals.
Okay.
Some, not a lot, some. And, of course, there are some kind of fish-like, whatever they are. And from what I understand, there are also some dolphin-like creatures in their oceans. So they've got some animals. They have some fish and mammal kind of beings, creatures that live in their oceans, but they are freshwater oceans. And let's see, it also has 2 suns. This is a binary star system that this planet revolves around. So they have daytime and twilight.
Huh.
Now it gets more interesting. You think, well, this is a pretty good scenario for the people for the 3-dimensional people that want to begin their new lives somewhere else. Very true. There are some rules, and the rules are actually very common sense. At least, I think by almost everybody's reasoning by today's standards. There's not going to be any dumping of toxic waste, dumping of any waste for that matter. There will be no polluting, no raping of the land, no draining of its natural resources. There will be so much technology that these 3-dimensional people will be provided that they won't need to harm the planet. They are going to need to respect it, and that's one of the conditions for traveling to this new world. You know, if you're going to move to a new sandbox, you got to keep it clean. Let's see what else.
Let's see how long that lasts.
Well,
I give it 1 generation.
These are the guidelines. This planet has 4 large continents. There are some islands, both large, medium, and small. And it's going to be a beautiful place for those people to start their new lives. Now, it gets a little more interesting because Earth people are not the only ones. They're not the only people. Let me try this again. 3-dimensional Earth people are not the only 3-dimensional people that are going to be on these 2 biospheres. Think of these biospheres as a couple of cruise ships that are picking up people from other countries, and it's a one-way trip. Well, instead of picking up people from other countries, they're going to pick up other people from other 3D worlds. And those 3D worlds are Aura, Betara, and Wanke. And I'll give you a small smattering of what they're like. In terms of size and their looks, they're pretty typically much like Earth people in terms of height and build. Their differences are a little nuanced. Because of the worlds that they come from, they have unique eye colors that we've never seen here on this planet. They also have some pretty unique hair coloring that we've never seen. Specifically, the people from Betara have beautiful, natural, multiple birth markings, not only on their faces, but all across their bodies. And the people from Wanke they could be considered much more like indigenous people on Earth. They're shorter and stockier build. But these two biospheres are going to be picking up 3D people from Aura, Batera, and Wanke. And so now you have people from multiple races, from multiple countries, and from multiple theological, religious belief systems and cultures, all from planet Earth getting on these biospheres. And you've got people from 3 different races from 3 different planets all hopping on for this trip to this new Earth, this Jupiter-sized new Earth, I may add. That's the reason for the 10 to 12 year trip, to give people an opportunity to get to know each other, hopefully to shed any biases or racism that they may have, because with all of this diversity inside these 2 biospheres, now, yeah, granted, they're the size of Jupiter, but these people are still going to be together for 10 or 12 years. It's going to be a good opportunity for them to learn how to get along.
Will there be intermingling between the 2 biospheres on the trip?
I'm sorry, can you ask the question again?
Will there be intermingling between the 2 biospheres during this 10 to 12 year trip? Will they be able to take scout craft between and mix with the folks on the other ship?
Wow, good question. I don't know. I mean, you're going to have basically, somebody's going to say, okay, time to leave, and Namaste is going to leave this general solar system space and start heading toward this new planet. And pretty soon right after that, Pleiadra is going to fire up their engines and also head over to this new planet. Mm-hmm. Earth people and the people from these 3 worlds, of all of these diverse races, so you have all of the races of Earth, all of the cultures of Earth, all of the different sizes and shapes and looks of all the people on Earth, plus the people from all 3 planets on both biospheres. And, you know, it's, in some way, it's not going to be any different from having all of the multiple races of humans that we have on this planet together today. Again, the reason for the 10 to 12-year travel period is so that people can have a greater opportunity to get to know one another better, because they're going to a new world together. And if they need to work out the differences, so be it. But they're going to have an opportunity to do that during this 10 to 12-year trip to this new 3D planet.
Well, this is very interesting because, you know, if give or take 5%, you know, roughly half the people you know, that any one of us knows are going to be taking this journey. You know, then that kind of personalizes it for people, because whether or not, I mean, I doubt anybody listening tonight is planning on getting on board those ships and going, but we know people who undoubtedly in that scenario would be going, and so I guess it makes it kind of personal, and so you're interested in that journey and the sorts of things that those people are going to encounter. What happens, Tolec, if to the people who choose not to get on board this ship, and at the same time don't have the sufficient vibratory rate or evolution to transition with the Earth?
Good question. Reasonable question, but good question. I've said this before, and it bears worth repeating. And it's on the website, and actually as long as we're here, for anybody that has any questions about anything we're talking about tonight, a lot of this material, except the details of these biospheres, but a lot of this material is on the Andromeda Council website. So feel free to wander over there. Here's the answer to the question. For the people that are living on Earth today that are comfortable with the concept and want to become fourth-dimensional people, do not be concerned with practicing any specific rituals or methodologies or chants You don't have to do anything. Just be here on the planet in January 2014, and your vibratory rate will change, and you will become a fourth-dimensional human. It is literally that simple. And it is that simple. I'm making this very clear. It is that simple because this is not about a theological experience. This is not about ascension, as some people term it. This is about the evolution of the solar system and planet to graduate, to become a higher frequency, higher dimensional world, which will vibrate at a faster dimension. And fourth dimensional people will become, as we become it, we will become fine matter essence, crystalline based fourth dimensional people. It's I've used this before, but the best analogy I can think of is a caterpillar parks itself on a tree limb, it weaves a cocoon, and it births itself as a beautiful butterfly. That's the process that we're going to be going through. And all people have to do is be here. All you got to do is be here. Just be on the planet. You will become a fourth dimensional person.
Okay, well, I think I've got that licked.
Hope that helps.
Okay, so you've gone through all the non-hospital ships, it sounds like. So I'm sorry, right. I don't want to direct you where you. It sounded like you actually had a plan for where you wanted to go next.
Yeah, no, you're right on track. You're right on track. But before I get to the hospital biospheres, all right, I want to talk about what the inside of each of these biospheres typically is like, regardless of size. So we've got a couple the size of Pluto, we got one the size of Venus, we got one the size of Mars, and two big honking biospheres the size of Jupiter. Well, what do these things look like inside? First thing I'll do is provide a general sense for anybody that's done any traveling at all. Think of the most beautiful 5-star hotels or resorts that you've ever been inside of. They many times have waterfalls inside. They have either real or manufactured rock surfaces, sometimes climbing walls. They will certainly have greenery, bushes and small ficus trees growing all over the place. Some resorts and hotels have palm trees inside. Think of this kind of example, a beautiful, beautiful resort or a beautiful, beautiful conference center. That's what the inside of these biospheres look like. I'm going to take the primary biosphere as an example. Here we go. It's the size of Pluto. Now this one specifically, and any others the size of Pluto, at maximum capacity can hold 12 million people. Well, it's got 12 executive officers. So you've got the commander, who's like the CEO. You've got a chief of operations, a chief medical officer. You have head of engineering, and so on. There are 12 of those. It has 50,000 crew members. It has 30,000 civilians, which include the families of the crew members. It also has, for those 4 times a week that the Andromeda Council meetings and the subcommittee and advisory board meetings, there are 12 ambassadors and the man or woman that backs them up, who's an ambassador regent. So you've got 24 of those dignitaries, if you will. Then you have a whole bunch of people who are of a lower level in status, but it's only about, are you a senior member or a junior member? And the people that aren't senior Andromeda Council members, like the 12, a lot of those people work on the subcommittees and advisory boards, and there are hundreds of those people, and those meetings happen every day. Well, that results in, on a quiet day, about 500 people coming and going from this primary Andromeda Council biosphere, if you will, government center, to upwards of 5,000 people coming or going on a given day, depending on what's going on. If there are some large-scale events, if there are some special award ceremonies, you'll have more people. Now, there's also scientists and other experts from both the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy that visit on this biosphere, because this biosphere is kind of like Andromeda Central, if you will, as a viewing room for what's going on in this solar system and down here on Earth with all of the changes that are happening. So this is a busy place, and as I said, we're looking at 500 people on a quiet day to upwards of 5,000 people on a busy day. There are 26 floors with elevators that go from floor to floor, and there's also a tube transport system that's available for each floor that kind of circumnavigates the whole sphere on the inside. All right, these are all the elements. Now I'm going to go pretty quickly, one by one, through the different floors, and I'm just going to name them. There's the main command control room where all of the officers work, and think of it as Primary Andromeda Council Biosphere Operations Hub. All the rest of them are pretty self-explanatory. Central Command Communication Room, Astronomy Outlook Station, Commander, Executive Officers, Quarters. Now again, keep in mind, right now I'm just going floor by floor. There are 26 floors inside this biosphere. Next floor is crew quarters. Next floor is where all of the restaurants are. Next floor, gardens, greenhouse room, location for animals, holographic central, recreation and sports, medical observatory. There is a whole section of floors having to do with both scout craft ships and city-sized ships, training, flight school, adult education. There's, of course, wrong word, but docking, hangar bay, for the storage of all these craft. There's a floor dedicated to central control of all the various climates and all the different vibrations of people living inside this planetoid, because keep in mind we've got three-dimensional, gross organic matter people like us, 4D, 5D, and 6D. They all require different temperature and, or more importantly, vibrational environments where they live inside this biosphere. Which brings me to the next few floors. The next floor is for pilots, ship captains, traders, engineers, scientists, crew members from the different ships that come and go to this biosphere. They stay on that floor. The next two floors are for the formal Andromeda Council, that board meeting room, and then there are a whole bunch of other rooms for subcommittee and advisory boards on that floor. And the floor below it is for private quarters for the ambassadors, ambassador regents, diplomats, any other visiting dignitaries or council officials. And the remaining few floors have to do with family members, the greater family quarters for the crew members that have families, not for the single crew members, but for the crew members that have families. There is a family greenhouse with a garden room. There is a family holographic and recreation sports center. There's a playground for kids. There's a family food court. There's a family astronomy lookout station. There's a school for children. And then there's also a family medical center for any 3D people and or 4D people that need some tweaking and or healing. These are all of the elements on a floor-by-floor basis that exist just in the primary Andromeda Council Biosphere, which is like the size of Pluto. And so you can scale up or scale down and pretty much have the same elements, except when you get to, for example, the hospital biospheres, which will be a little bit different, but I'll address that next. Before I jump to the hospital biospheres, any questions at all?
Yeah. So I have questions about the mass and gravity, how that is mitigated, I guess. I'm assuming if these are, I mean, just because they're planet size doesn't mean the mass is planetary, but it's still going to have to be fairly massive. How do they account for gravity so as to not influence, I guess, how far out in orbit are they from the Earth?
Oh, okay. All of these biospheres, well, first of all, they're cloaked. And second of all, if somebody had a telescope, they couldn't look, even with the strongest Earth-based telescopes, they wouldn't be able to look off of planet Earth and see them. Are they in and around Earth space? Yes, but they're more like throughout the whole solar system.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm honestly not a scientist, so I'm not familiar with the astrophysics of how, for example, a Jupiter-sized body like this might affect another planetary body. I've never asked because honestly I've never thought about it, but I do know that each one of these are cloaked and they are within the context of our solar system. I've been told that a few times. The primary one I understand is relatively close to Earth space, and they're busy. They're very busy these days preparing for the next set of events that involve that have to do with their direct involvement.
So these are cloaked 24/7, 365. There's never really an incident where they, kind of uncloak, decloak, however you would term it. The reason I ask is one of our listeners asked if maybe the western Missouri sightings that have been reported by local media might be them. I assume that there's some sort of scout craft that they're seeing there, but it still bears, asking. Yeah,
sure, yeah. And the question is worth addressing and answering, and it has actually a couple of answers. These Andromeda Council biospheres are cloaked. Other biospheres, specifically scientific workstation biospheres, on loan from the planet Jupiter, and I'm going to use a metaphor, are located essentially at the north, the south, and the east and west of planet Earth. So if you took Earth as a globe and looked at it, and looked north, south, east, and west, there's one of each of these Jupiterian science biospheres that are monitoring, A, all of the changes going on with the sun and our whole solar system, and B, they're monitoring all the changes going on with the planet Earth. Can people and do people see these biospheres from Jupiter? Yes, they do. That's a lot. These are a lot of what people are seeing at the horizon in the morning when they're getting up and they go, "Wow, what's that second sun?" It's not a second sun. It's a Jupiter it's a biosphere from the Jupiter people.
Oh, so you're saying the second sun? Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's not a
because
second
it seems
sun.
to come and go, and I just wonder how is it that we can see it visibly, but we don't end up seeing them in the on the SOHO satellites or whatever. They must be between Earth and the satellites that are observing the sun.
Yeah, quite honestly, I don't know exactly how far out they're stationed, but I do know perspective-wise that again, if you looked at the Earth as a globe, one's located north of the North Pole, one's located south of the South Pole, one's, west of the west of Earth is an orientation, one is to the east on the right.
Gotcha.
So do people have an opportunity to see these from time to time? Yeah, they sure do. And it seems that they only show up typically at sunrise and sunset. So I don't know why. I just don't.
Well, that's an interesting answer to the question, because people are seeing these things all over the planet. There's been video taken of them from all over the planet, and it just doesn't make any sense. And there's obviously no scientific answer. Not that the scientific community is going to acknowledge it, but it's just been a mystery, and that right there is a very interesting answer to the mystery. Thank you for that.
Right. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure. I have a lot of answers. I don't claim to have every answer, but I've learned a lot in this process, believe me. And some of it I go, wow, are you kidding me? And no, this is how it works. Okay. Yeah, because I'm just like the rest of you guys. In many ways, I'm a student. At the same time I'm asking questions, I'm even more of a pain in the butt, because once I learn some things, I ask them more questions. So in my time, when I think we're going to have a 15 or 20-minute conversation, it ends up going for like 2.5 hours.
Right.
I keep asking questions. So, moving on, the 6 Andromeda Council hospital biospheres. You could also call them hospital ships. The first thing I'll do is tell you that there are 6. One is dedicated completely to 3D, third-dimensional, organic matter humans, human forms, human beings, and 3D only. The other 5 will be able to accept 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D people. But more importantly, that first hospital biosphere, it's called Pompeii, is going to be there because there will be a considerable amount of people who are going to need some healing at a variety of levels. Maybe physical, that they've, certainly 3D people that don't become 4D. Maybe they got some physical ailments, and there are technologies there that the different planets of the Andromeda Council have contributed to that biosphere, that there are some pretty unique healing technologies there for 3D people. Those physical 3D technologies will be there for 3D people. The other reason that it is there for 3D people only is that there will be people who, for their own life experiences, maybe they've been abused, maybe they've been ridiculed, maybe they've been emotionally tortured, maybe they have conflicts going on internally. Who knows what's going on with them, or maybe the whole concept of extraterrestrial life has just thrown them into a tailspin. Well, this is the place where everybody from a 3D perspective starts. They all start here in terms of healing, and therefore Earth people won't see anybody else on this biosphere. They'll only see Earth humans, Earth-looking humans, human beings taking care of them. Because for the people whose systems are sensitive, who are like really on the edge, this is the place for these people first. And showing them, 7.5-foot tall blue people with pointed ears is not going to help them. So you keep those kind of people off that biosphere. After, it's about getting them healed first, and then starting to address other issues. So what are some of the other issues, and what are the purposes of the other 5 hospital biospheres? Before I dive into all of the specifics, I'll just talk about each one briefly. I'll just address each one briefly.
Okay.
The next one is called Test Soul. It's for psychological and emotional healing. It's the best way I can say it. The one after that is called Mantrael. I'll get into more of the detail of this one later, but this one is called, its purpose is for the energetic healing of people's soul signatures, their soul essence from when they were first birthed, hundreds or thousands of years ago. We're not talking about the 3D human body, we're talking about their soul. All right. Mika is the next one, and it also has to do with psychological and emotional healing, but Mika specifically is not the biosphere for healing, but the biosphere for post-healing counseling. There'll be a variety of counselors and or sociologists to help people once they come out of their healing phase and to help them adjust. The last two are Andorra and Wandeki. And Wandeki is specifically like, think of a hospital. And many hospitals these days, there is sometimes a section of the hospital and or a building set aside, especially if places like the Cleveland Clinic for severe cancer patients. Well, they have housing for family members that can come and stay 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months. Well, Wandeki specifically is a biosphere dedicated to any of the family members that will want to come and visit the people that are being discharged from this whole healing process. It's also the final discharge center for all of the people who are patients on the different hospital biospheres. All right?
Okay.
So from a topical level, I've addressed all 6 hospital biospheres, and I think I did a pretty good job of covering the services that are available for the 3D Earth people on Ponte. So now I'll pick it up with Montreal. Montreal as a healing biosphere is the place where all of the people who are 4th or 5th dimensional people, of course, and it's also available for 3-dimensional as well, because we all have energy bodies, but this biosphere is specifically for energy healers, their assistants, and the people who are going there for the healing of their souls, specifically the energetic healing of their souls. That's why this biosphere exists. And it has a staff of 5,000 energy healers, 2,000 energy assistants, people from housekeeping, peacekeeping, security force. So you got 15,000 staff members plus crew on this biosphere. On Testol, this is the biosphere, again, for psychological, emotional health treatment. And on this biosphere, you have psychologists, sociologists, and they will slowly but surely help the people who have been emotionally traumatized. Maybe, and there are a list of psychological and emotional illnesses that people have that there's a whole book dedicated to. That's why this biosphere exists, to help people heal from their afflictions, from their emotional and psychological difficulties. So this biosphere also has 5,000 psychological healers. It's got 10,000 nurses, housekeeping people. Again, we're looking at a staff of 55,000 in this biosphere. Mika. Now, this one, it makes sense because this is the follow-up to the last biosphere. When they come off the first 3 biospheres, they come to Mika next because for anybody that needs any more lightweight counseling, just helping people to become familiar with what 4th dimensional life will be like, if there are some, and this example could happen. Let's say you have a mother and a couple children that really didn't want to become 4th dimensional, but yet they need to understand what's going on. They need to somehow grasp the fact that her son and her husband have decided to become 4th dimensional people. This biosphere is about the gentling process of helping people come to understand all of the emotions that they're going to feel as they make the transitions. Because these transitions are going to happen. And transitions like these are going to happen, and there are going to have to be ways that people can address these issues comfortably and have somebody to talk to. That's what this biosphere is for. It's more of a lightweight transitional biosphere, compared to the prior one, which is more of in-depth psychological, emotional, difficult issues. Again, this one, it's not a good word, but it's more lightweight in its approach. And it's about helping people to understand the transition. Andorra is quite different and unique in that it is the place, at least as far as the Andromeda Council is concerned, where think of it kind of like as a large, really large mainframe computer that has all of the soul records for 3D, 4D, 5D, and 6D people in the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies, but specifically for those people who are going through changes that need some questions answered. They've come through a healing process, and or they want some questions answered. This biosphere, Andorra, with its large mainframe computer, has a number of counseling rooms, and it also has at least 4 large-scale holographic observatory rooms where the mainframe universal librarians and assistants can pull up soul records on each person and say, oh yes, Adria, you've been around for 775 years. Okay, well, you go back to this year. This is when you were birthed. You were first birthed on this planet. These are the experiences that you've had. She's like, oh, okay, well, all right, I know, I understand some of these. Well, tell me about these experiences and tell me about these lifetimes. And what about 2 lifetimes ago when I was having this memory? For all the people that all of a sudden they're 3D and they become 4D and they're trying to grasp what all these memories and all these lifetimes are about, that's what this biosphere, Andorra, is all about. It's
okay, because one of my understandings about the transition is that we will be reconnected with, those other aspects of our soul. The veil will be lifted,
yes,
so to speak. And
yes,
so what I hear you saying is that while those memories will become accessible, making sense of it might not be as easy. And so we'll need help.
Right, and I'm not necessarily saying that this will be the case for everyone. I think for some people, they'll go, oh, okay, this lifetime and that lifetime and this lifetime and that lifetime, and I've had all these experiences, and this is where I'm at today. Great. What's next? And
okay,
for other people at the other end of the scale, who've willingly chosen to become fourth dimensional, but have never quite gotten on board with the whole, oh, well, this is what spiritual life is about. They're going to find themselves standing there as fourth dimensional people, scratching their heads going, what? Huh?
Okay.
How many lifetimes? I thought my name was Walter. No offense to anybody named Walter, but I thought my name was Walter, and I'm just this human on planet Earth, and it's like birth, life, heaven or hell or purgatory, and that's the deal. No, that's not the deal. You come to Earth many, 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 many lifetimes, and these are all the experiences that you've had. And we're here to help you understand them. Oh, okay, good. So I just gave you 2 ends of the spectrum. The people who have no sense of this, but yet are willing and want to become fourth dimensional people. And at the other end are the people who are like, okay, I'm here, let's go. I've had a number of lifetimes, what's next?
Okay.
Of course, there's a broad spectrum of people throughout that whole description I just gave you of those 2 people, like if you will, one on the far left and one on the far right.
And everything in between.
And everything in between. And for the record, I was not trying to make fun of anybody. I was trying to give 2 very different descriptions of where 2 very different people might be at. Either very, as people say today, very aware, very awake, very enlightened, very in tune with what a spiritual life really means, what being spiritual is about, because it's about really how many times your soul and your spirit essence has experienced life. That's one edge of the knowledge spectrum. And the other edge, as I described, is the person who's has very little insight to the subject matter at all. Wakes up 4D and he's scratching his head going, how did I get here? And what is this all about? So yes, those two ends of the spectrum and everything else in between.
Okay.
Yep. And Wandeki, briefly, it's the I think of being at the doctor's office, it's the checkout room. It is the biosphere dedicated to patient discharge. And it's also the place where the family members can come meet with their loved ones and sit and wait for the process to happen. If there's any closure that needs to be brought with any counselors and in terms of any final sessions that need to happen, wrapping things up, then that's why this biosphere is here. It's for the wrap-up and discharge. And again, there's like 50,000 crew members. We've got like final session counselors, people that go through, if you will, the computer system to document all the records of all the healthcare work that's been done on all these people. So you're looking at probably a crew complement with healers and housekeepers and everything else of like 100,000 on this particular biosphere. But this is the totality. This is what goes on. And as you can see, it's sequential. For the people that need 3D healing, they definitely go to Ponte first. That's always the first stop. And if they're at Ponte, they're not going to see any humans they're not used to seeing. It's going to be a place to gentle them into the healing process. And the other 5 biospheres are about different levels and different stages of energetic, emotional, or soul healing and or accessing soul records.
It all actually makes tremendous sense. But yeah, I'm tracking anyway. Good. Okay. Let's see. I want to see if I've left anything out. These biospheres, these hospital biospheres, are a little different in that the 4, 5, 6. Okay, here we go. The 6 middle floors are different from all the other biospheres because these are hospital biospheres. And these floors are as follows. We've got staff quarters for lack of a better word, medical healthcare doctors, nurses, medical practitioners. There is another floor strictly for observation, patient rooms. There's another floor for consultation and counseling. Keep in mind, this is all six of these hospital biospheres. There are 3 more floors having to do with patient rooms, doctor consultation rooms, and doctor and nurse staff quarters. So you've got 6 of these floors of core medical dedicated rooms that are particular to the hospital biospheres that you wouldn't find on the others. Everything else is pretty much the same. You've got restaurants and food courts, transportation systems, and all the biospheres. Again, keep in mind, all of these biospheres, internally, they are all very lush, not lush like a planet, but they're very green. There are rolling hills, there are streams, there are parks. As an example, and I didn't touch on this in the primary biosphere, this is worth talking about. There are 15, and I know it just jumped, so bear with me. We're back talking about the primary Andromeda Council biosphere. Okay. There are 15 parks there. 15 of them. And they average, the smallest is 5 miles in diameter, and the largest is about 30 miles. So you're almost talking about like a preserve, a national, like a nature reserve, like a national park. Each of these parks
have automatic water misting systems. So it never has to rain inside the biosphere to keep things green. There are, just like out here in the Southwest, we've got misting systems installed everywhere because it's so dry that when it's 110 or 112 in the summer, these misting systems come on, and the water vapor in the air brings the temperature down, and it makes it cooler. Well, here the misting systems are to keep all of the plants and the shrubs and the bushes and the trees watered. All right. So you've got 15 parks, the smallest being 5 miles in size, the largest being 30 miles. You've got 26 floors of ivy and vines and foliage and bushes and trees and rolling hills. There are waterfalls. There are large rock surfaces like cliffs so people can do rock climbing. Again, think of each one of these biospheres as a really, really expensive 5-star luxury hotel or a resort. That's very much what they look like on the inside. So
what about lighting, Tolec? What's the lighting situation like? I've heard tales of ships, mostly scout ships, where the lighting just seems to come from everywhere all at once. Is it a situation like that you've seen? Yeah,
it's think of blue sky everywhere.
Wow.
Everywhere throughout the what do you call it? The biosphere is blue light.
So there's no sort of central sun or the central light source, or in a particular room like we use lamps or lights along the ceiling, stuff like that. How does lighting work in individual rooms and stuff?
Yeah, people wouldn't look up in the sky and see a sun. What they would do is they would look up in the sky and see blue sky on a floor-by-floor basis.
Okay.
Now keep in mind, you're talking about a biosphere. The smallest one is the size of Pluto. You're inside a biosphere that's the size of Pluto. So you're talking about hundreds of feet from, let's say you're on the 30th floor. Let's say that you're on the 30th floor and it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and then it's 1 in the afternoon, and then it's 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. What they'll do is, once they determine when nighttime is going to be nighttime, they dim the lights. So, in a manner of speaking, is there a central engineering section for lighting of this whole biosphere? Yes, there is. Are the guys on top of it in terms of dimming the lights when it's time to be nighttime and go to sleep? Yes, they are. And basically what they do is they dim the lights at night so it becomes dark. But, it's not like you look up and you see light bulbs with filaments or fixtures. You just look up and you see a baby blue or a light blue sky. So does that help?
Yeah, no, that actually answers it. Yes, thank you.
Okay, good.
That's one of the things I'm curious about.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Yeah, they don't see light bulbs and they don't see a sun. Do they see blue lighting? Yes, they do. And it's controllable, and they dim it when it's nighttime. So, okay. That's in terms of the depth of the content. We've got 12 biospheres. We have one of them that's the Primary Andromeda Council Biosphere. We have 11 others that are dedicated to doing different things, and I'll just name them real quick. You have Nemonte and Pleiadra, who are the 2 Jupiter-sized biospheres that will be used for transport to the new Earth-like world. And that transport will happen sometime again, like midsummer 2013, for those 3-dimensional Earth people that want to continue their lives as 3-dimensional people. And again, that trip will take 10 to 12 years to that new world. The remaining non-hospital biospheres are Sarsta and Vieira. One's for engineering. The other one is a complete interstellar, intergalactic, multi-dimensional communication center specifically focused on communication for the Milky Way galaxy. That's what this one's for. It's the size of Mars. And then you've got the 6 hospital biospheres: Pantae, Tetsol, Mantrael, Mika, Andorra, Wandeki. Pantae is specifically for 3D Earth humans, for their immediate, think of this hospital first and foremost as triage. People are injured. Yeah, they need, Joe Mara would really appreciate this place. They need healing. This is the place to be. Some pretty amazing 3D technologies, even far more advanced, of course, than we have here, because all of the medical healing technology is coming from people, from societies, from planets that are 3D, but they are also more emotionally, spiritually, and technologically advanced from us. They are, in fact, members of the Andromeda Council. They have contributed their technologies to this biosphere. The other biospheres are, in fact, for 3D people, but they're also for 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D. And Testol, Mantrael, Mika, Andorra, and Wandeki have to do with psychological and energy healing, emotional healing. Andorra with somebody's ability to sit down and say, hey, I want to get a real grasp on the totality of my life. All of a sudden, I'm wide awake, and I'm going back like 257 lifetimes. Fill me in on some of this. I don't have a grasp on all of it. Fill me in on some of these details. And that's what Andorra is for the complete recollection, filling in the blanks of people's total soul record memories. And Wandeki, this is the place that is the discharge biosphere, the one for the reunion of the patients, their family members, that kind of thing. That's what this is all about. And that's this is all the detail that I have for you.
Okay.
I pretty much covered everything that I've got in terms of the detail and the reasons and what happens in each of these biospheres. Tim, if you've got any more questions, before you open the phone lines, feel free to ask.
Okay. Actually, yeah, I was thinking, we've got about 15 minutes here left, and I did promise folks that we would open up the lines. So I think what I'll do is I'll kind of bounce back and forth. And Al, I'm going to ask a question here from the chat room and then open up the phone lines. Al Carrizo asked, he says that he was looking forward to 4D, but he'd like to know how older people, he's 71, how will they continue at that age? Will they continue at that age, or will they be rejuvenated? That's Al's question.
Okay. I think I've answered this, but this is a good time to do this without burdening people. A lot of these answers are on the frequently asked questions page of the Andromeda Council website. And the Andromeda Council website is Andromeda Council, in this case, Council is COUNCIL.com. I'm pretty sure this one's answered, but I'm happy to answer anyway. If people go about halfway down the page, they'll see a section called Initial Answers Regarding 4D Life. There'll be about 4 or 5 questions answered there. And then toward the end of that frequently asked questions page, there will be another 7 questions that are answered there as well. All right, here's his answer. People that are older than me, his age, 71, 75, 80, 85, people that are healthy, they will likely, once they become 4D, their likely default look, as an example, will be someone of, think of somebody that you might see who is a healthy, active, 60-year-old person. They've lived a good life. They are healthy. They're active. They still have a twinkle in their eyes and a glow on their face. They're enjoying their lives. That will be kind of the default look of somebody who's in their 70s or 80s. People who are that age and older but are on their deathbeds, kind of like they're right at the moment of transition, those people will have the ability to default back to their look like as a 34 or 35-year-old human during that life.
Okay.
Now, to come back to this gentleman, once he becomes that fourth dimensional person and he's, 60 or 61 or 62 years old looking and he's got this healthy glow to him, once he recognizes what's happened and he's at that age, or he looks that age, because fourth dimensional people, one of their natural abilities, one of our natural capabilities, will be able to change our height, our look, brown eyes, green eyes, blue eyes, blonde hair, dark hair, how old we look. This gentleman can shift his look from being 61, 2 to being 34 or 35. It's a matter of his choice.
There you go, Al.
But at the moment of switch, the default switch will be 61 or 62, healthy and glowing. And if he wants to go to 34 or 35 and have a different life, he can do that. But it's simply because fourth dimensional people have those capabilities. And it's a great answer. I was really happy to learn it myself.
And it's completely in line with stuff that I've heard elsewhere, and it's an understandable concern for someone who's 71, who's just getting into this information. I know if it were me, I'd probably be asking the same questions. So, are you ready to open up Pandora's box here, Tolec, and take a call?
I sure am. Well, we got about 12 minutes. All right, go ahead.
Just a few.
Yep.
Okay, so callers, I'm going to ask that you keep your questions brief. After you're done with the questions, you will we'll take your answer off the air. I'll go ahead and mute you, and we'll move on. So I'm going to start with our longest holder, which is area code 970. Area code 970. If you could turn down your radio, you have a question.
If you turn down your radio.
Okay, I don't think that's going to work. Okay, so let's move on to area code 678. Area code 678. Do you have a question?
Yeah, hi, it's Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Hello, Tolec. I want to appreciate everything you've told us so far.
I know it's a lot. I know there's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
My main question is, I know 50% are going to be able to go to this other planet, and I'm assuming a lot of those are going to be the negative people. How are they going to coax those people into going? I mean, that's a big step. And then two, on your FAQ, you say there's about 20 other planets. I'm kind of curious, where we are in line here with all these other planets going to the next dimension.
Okay, sure. Easy questions, relatively easy answer. Here we go. And I mean this sincerely. This biosphere that will be available, the two biospheres, again by name, Namaste and Pleiadra. Got to clear my brain out here. These two biospheres are available for people who want to out of their free will, out of decisions that they've made. They want to go to another world because for whatever reasons are relevant to them, for whatever reasons are important, personal to them, that's the decision they've made. And that's okay. That's their life path. It's all right that they can do that. But for the people that stay on planet Earth, if they're here, and I don't know what the exact date is, let's call it January 5th. If January 5th is the day in early January 2014 when in the blink of an eye or in the snap of a finger, this becomes a fourth dimensional world, for the people who are here, they're going to become fourth dimensional people. And there's not going to be anybody on Earth to coerce three-dimensional people to go anywhere. or do anything. It's their decision to make up their minds as to what they want to do. Second question. There's a lot of focus and help being given to planet Earth and the people on Earth, because out of the other 20 some odd planets that are making this evolutionary step up to becoming a fourth dimensional world, and I think it's 2 or 3 of them are very much Earth-like planets, very much Earth-like 3D planets. Those couple of planets are far less complex than us. Why? Because they have 1 or 2 races at most on those worlds. They don't have the issues that we have on this planet. They're not complex. They're not diverse. They don't have neurotic feelings about their own individual cultural or theological beliefs. They just don't have the issues that we have on planet Earth. I once heard Wendell Stevens say that this planet is kind of like a looking glass or a lab. There's more diversity on this planet than on almost any planet, certainly in the Milky Way galaxy. And it's one of the reasons why there's so many eyeballs on this planet, is because of the great amount of diversity that we have here. It is the amount of diversity that makes this planet a challenge to live on. And moreover, it explains why we have so many difficulties in getting along, because we all don't believe the same thing. We don't live the same way. So therefore, it's taking a lot of energy on the part of the people from the Andromeda Council to help smooth this transition for the people of this planet. So Earth is getting first priority. That's what I'm trying to say. Earth is getting first priority in terms of the helping process, in terms of slowing the rate and the rate and pace of change, the geological changes on this planet. Everything's being done to minimize the changes to this planet. Will there still be changes? Will there continue to be changes? Yes. But the people of the Andromeda Council, the people of the Galactic Federation, that is the day-to-day operational management company, if you will, of this intergalactic interstellar governance body, including people from Procyon. They're doing everything in their power to help mitigate the pace of change on this world and to clean it up, so that when we finally become a fourth dimensional world, the process is a lot easier. That's I know it's a long answer, but that's the totality of the answer. Next.
Okay, next. We're going to go out to New York State, area code 631. You have a question for Tolec?
Yes, hi. This is Kim. How are you?
Hi, Kim.
Hi, Kim. Hi, Tim. Hi, Tolec. How are you?
Hello. Doing good.
Good to hear your voice.
Yes. Yep.
Doing good. Great interview. Thank you so much. I'll try to be brief. I just was wondering if you could describe the process of when we will be getting that information in about a year from now, as to make that choice. So how will that look? How will that happen? The choice that people will be presented with, will it be telepathic or, announced somehow, or I don't know.
Wow, it's a good question. I think this is one of those questions that has 2 answers. I need to be specific with my wording. Each person, and certainly each person within the context of their family, single people, it's easier obviously, but each person within the context of his or her family will make those decisions that are best for their family. It's their choice to choose whether they want to stay on Earth and become fourth dimensional people, or whether they want to leave and go to this new Earth, this new Jupiter-sized, pristine virgin world. So that's the first answer. It's all about free will choice. It's up to the individual person. The second answer is, I do know that telepathy will be part of the communication process, but keep in mind, sometime in the near future, I believe we are still on track for this to happen late this spring, all throughout this summer, as well into the autumn and winter. The people of the Andromeda Council 4 planets, as well as their predecessors, Ambassador Tanka, Diplomat Maka, Vice Chairwoman Tanya, these people will be speaking vocally, publicly, in countries all around the world with the people from the 4 planets following them right away to provide people with this kind of information. There's going to be a lot that will be provided, but some of this information will include, hey, listen, here's how this process is going to roll out. When summer of 2013 rolls along, here's how you're going to learn about where to go, what to do, what you can take with you, these kinds of things. I don't know those details yet because that's not my responsibility. It's the responsibility of the 3 people who are going to follow me, and then the people from the 4 planets that will fill out all of that information. I'm sorry, but that's the best answer I can give you right now.
Okay. Well, we have just a couple of minutes left, so we're going to take one more quick caller, and then we're going to call the show. This last caller is from Pennsylvania, area code 570. Question for Tolec, and let's keep it quick, please.
Hi, this is Jean-Claude here.
Hi, Jean-Claude.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir, comment ça va?
Ça va bien, merci. Go ahead. In English, please.
I would like to find out, once we made that transition, which plane we'll be living in? Which plane of existence will that be?
The first shift in vibration, Earth will approximately become a mid-level 4th dimensional world. Not the lower end, not the top end, but mid-level 4th dimensional.
Yeah, I guess that would be my understanding as well.
Yep, mid-level 4th dimension.
Well,
and it will be. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to actually close it out, so go ahead and finish your answer.
Oh, I was just going to say, sometime in the future, it will become a 5th dimensional world. I don't know when, but yes, sometime in the future that will happen. And for those people who are wondering, there are probably some people out there who are, at least in terms of awakeness and awareness and like spiritual awareness, they're very in tune. They're almost at a 4th dimensional level in terms of what they can conceptualize, comprehend, understand. It's likely that since those people are on the edge of the 4th, they're going to bump and become either really high 4th or they're going to become 5th dimensional people. And because the vibration of a 4th dimensional world is not that far off, perspective-wise, from a 5th dimensional world, they'll be able to live on Earth. There's not going to be any issues there, simply because it's sort of like the difference between 3rd dimensional Earth and then the 4th floor and the 5th floor is like 100 stories. It's the best metaphor you can give. Because you're going from the organic realm in the 3rd to spirit realm 4th, spirit realm 5th, spirit realm 6th. It's all spirit realm, all fine matter essence lives from the 4th on up.
And so there you have it. Basically, the answer is don't be afraid, because where you're bound for is where you're going to go, and it's all going to be gravy, right?
Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thanks, Tolec, so much for taking the time to share your experiences with the ships and give us this large dispensation of knowledge tonight. Thank you very much. Everybody out there, go check out AndromedaCouncil.com. That's COUNCIL Council, AndromedaCouncil.com. Definitely read up on the history of the space war. Read up the frequently asked questions. You're going to find there's a wealth of knowledge on the site. You might find that some of the questions you had tonight that didn't get answered are answered there. As for us here on the show, you can reach us at facebook.com/extraordinaryyear, one word, and you can follow me on Twitter at Tim Bravo. So that's it for us on the 203rd day before December 21st, 2012. Thanks to all of you guys for listening in. Keep your ear to the ground. Hold tight, kids, because it's going to be an extraordinary year.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tolec.
All right, take care.